as this lovely little country, but we've got a government that is saying all the right things. They're disarming us by saying, please do not worry, these food and agricultural standards are law. But at the same time, they have this lovely little kind of trump card, which is called secondary legislation, which means they can change whatever they like, whenever they like, without Parliament. And my problem, and my only beef, is that Parliament's there for a reason. Parliament is there to scrutinise, debate, bring in the best, cleverest minds in environment, in business, in ethics, in this, that, and the other, and they are basically being potentially sidelined. So what I don't like is being disarmed by all the right noise, but I know they have this ratchet where when they get into the woods of negotiation and trade, that out of sight, out of mind, things will be done to get stuff done quickly. You know, we potentially could be seen as vulnerable, just coming out of Europe, just coming out of Corona, we hope. What's Britain going to do? Big old America come in, or any other country. Japan, there's many deals on the cards. So all I want is not to slow them down, not to stop them. I just want and dream for what we all vote for, which is a democracy. And that is interrogation, transparency, and let Parliament do what they're designed to do.
With a side order of certainty, I would suggest, because it sounds as if what you describe in your piece in the Times yesterday was as upbeat, actually, as it was comprehensive, which is quite refreshing in the current climate. But you just want a clear commitment to food standards that they publicly state they're committed to, because there's this sort of wriggle room or this escape route from which they might be able to climb down from what they've publicly committed to without proper scrutiny, or indeed without any votes.
Yes, and I think that your listeners are all busy. They're tackling a lot this year. We've never been through a time of more kind of chop and changing, promising truth, untruths. What we do know is that these wonderful voted ministers and representatives that we vote in are like ships that pass in the night. On Monday, they will vote on whether they want to vote for Parliament to interrogate any compromise. Now, look, in my job and travelling, the concept of a deal, doing a deal, a trade deal, as big or as small as you like, it always involves two sides working together, good dialogue, and of course, compromise. Of course, we're not going to be able to uphold everything. But if there's this kind of secondary legislation where anything can go, it doesn't have the scrutiny, then the best minds in Britain that can take a short, medium and long-term view on, I don't know, public health, on how the influx of one food type from a completely different food system that's been investing in high volume, low value and low ethics for years and years and years, what they think that Britain that's been investing in high standards, which actually has something to sell at a time when it's kind of on its own. And actually the currency, in my belief, of most value is trust. I'm telling you, as someone that spent 20 years working in 120 countries around the world, Britain is a little island in a huge country, in a huge world, and we are actually normally trusted. Out of the 190 countries on this planet, we are normally trusted for normally doing what we promise. And we have great arts and culture, and we're desirable. And we also have some of the highest food standards in agriculture in Europe. We have something to sell. But what we can't have is sort of numbnuts coming in, coming out. Look, when all this kicks off, James, when all this kicks off, Gove will be nowhere to be seen. It'll be long gone. Truss the same. Boris the same. And the real boss Cummings as well, right? So, look, it's
and of course the people who keep insisting, because I'd add Jacob Rees-Mogg to that list. He told me that we had nothing to fear from hormone-injected beef or indeed chlorinated chicken. And although they are the headline issues, you're clearly concerned about much more than that.
What I fear is us. Humans are not one human, including me, should have the right on behalf of Britain to have the ability to not have framework, interrogation, transparency, and the best minds available to the country to look at a compromise in food standards that might be worth it or not. I'm not presuming there won't be compromise. I'm presuming that daft people that don't know enough about very, very, very geeky, specific things in agriculture, science, nutrition, right? These are politicians. They surface mount everything and then they're gone. So all I want is what we have, which is
Yes.
called Parliament. You can say it's not perfect, but it's there for a reason, and it's there to interrogate what few people do that might affect the masses. There will be very few people with secondary legislation that will have the capacity in a short, medium, or long term to destroy whole industries or completely litter high salt, fat, sugar items across the whole country. So the same item that you buy today is just that little bit more unhealthy tomorrow.
It's funny,
So
isn't it? Because sorry to interrupt, but I know we're short of time, and you cite Canada because I'm already hearing them saying, why can't we have a deal like Canada? And you very specifically explain that when the import tariff on high fructose corn syrup, which is the cheapest kind of sugar really, was removed, it made its way immediately into very popular processed foods. Consumers don't need to be told, and lo and behold, their obesity rates start rising.
Diabetes doubled in 10 years, James. And look, here's the thing. I have nothing against those politicians involved personally. I just don't trust any human to promise us anything. We need structure and we need what we've got already. Secondary legislation, the vote on Monday is to vote for our agricultural standards to be structured in law. That means if we're going to compromise, which I'm sure we will, that there is fair and honest debate. The last time this happened, Boris, or whoever it was, indirectly, whipped his ministers to vote this down. So my worry is everything they're saying is rosy. Everything they're saying is brilliant, logical. Thank you very much. I'm going to relax now. But the action of whipping down that amendment to the bill is the opposite. And what that means, and if I may break it down into sort of half a daily down the pub, is I want an empty table. I want nothing on the walls, right? I want an empty room to do this trade deal. And I can see that. Look, if you're going to do a deal, who wants baggage? But at the same time, when you get into a deal, it's personal. It's looking into people's eyes. You know, you've got leverage in all these different physical, personal, and national and economic ways, right? And I believe that by having standards that are legislation that will require debate and can't be quickly done on the toss of a coin, then hopefully we don't make lots of stupid. We will make mistakes.
But not the ones that are shouting at us to be avoided already.
And not lots of them.
And you know, finally, because listening to you now and reading your article in the Times yesterday, you make me wonder whether I've got my tactics wrong over the last few years, because you're very upbeat and you describe it in the context of the national interest. It's as if you're shouting from the rooftops. Look, we're brilliant. Don't compromise on the things that we're brilliant at. Whereas a lot of negativity or project fear, whatever you want to call it, in recent years has kind of sounded very different from that. But this is a positive, upbeat, celebratory message. You're just begging the people of Britain and most pertinently the politicians voting on Monday to recognise what we've got as being splendid.
Yes. And if our ministers voted by us vote this down on Monday, which will be morally wrong if you believe in democracy, right? It will be because they're worried about their own careers or how they go up in the world or whoever's whipped them in whatever kind of way you get whipped these days, I do not know. But what I can promise you is if that happens, unless activists and other groups get very busy, and that's a lot of work and it's bloody expensive, right? We'll have no insight in what's going on. We'll have to do it other ways. What we want is what we've already voted for, which is democracy in Parliament. And if it doesn't happen, what will happen is the slow erosions of our standard. And if you take that metaphorically, what that means is this little island in this huge planet, which is famous for culture, arts, generally great ethics and a good look on the world. We're doing okay in a lot of environmental things. Of course, we can do better. But there will be the slow erosion of our food standards, our farming and agriculture standards. Our world will change and will become much like the others. And our ability to sell something of high value to, I mean, just look at the rising economies. You know, you've got China, you've got India. The thing in shortest supply in those countries in the food chain is trust. Britain is a fantastic brand in both those countries. We have got to protect the trust and the capacity to be best of practice and to not like stack it high and sell it cheap.